Hello everyone and welcome to the DeHart house. My name is Alicia and I'm your host of this crafty channel here on YouTube. Today is Saturday, February 22nd. I'm coming to you from my craft room at home where I live in the greater Seattle region of the Pacific Northwest. No, I can't really afford to live in Seattle, and that's totally okay. I live in Renton, which is a city nearby, and I'm able to have a yard with a garden. So it's a win for me. But that's where I'm hailing from these days. And yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since I've seen you guys last. And I want to say a lot has happened, but I think most of the stuff happened in the previous 2 week interval with all of the snow days and illnesses and stuff. Yeah. It's winter time in the Pacific Northwest. We actually got some snow. Like I mentioned, we had snow days. It has finally all melted from my backyard. Yay! I love snow. I grew up in Michigan. I'm used to having feet and feet of snow. I'm not used to it here because there isn't the infrastructure of snowplows and stuff like that. So it's just not fun here in the city. It's fun to go out like hiking in it and sledding and all of the, intentional winter activities outside in snow, but anyway, it's all melted from the backyard, which is great because it had like become this crusty, icy thing, not what I prefer, which is like fluffy, soft snow. So, yeah, it's all melted. It's starting to warm up here, so it's not in the like 20 degrees Fahrenheit. We will probably get another cold spell at some point, but I don't see one in the near future. Um, yeah, my garlic. So I guess garden update up at the front here. My garlic outside this morning, I was like, holy cow, yes, my garlic is growing. So I was panicking. Every year is a little different, right? And it's not like the stuff works on the calendar where January 5th we always do this thing, we being the plants outside. So when I get the whole like, hey, 2 years ago you posted this picture of your garlic, you know, growing and thriving out of the ground, and then January 5th comes along here and my garlic isn't popping out of the ground, and I'm like, oh crap, did it all just get like soggy and die? Well, no, it did not, because now it's growing. Now that the snow has melted and it's warming up outside, getting more and more daylight. It's raining. It rains here mostly. Yeah, so I'm excited for the growing season. I've got seedlings in the inside, in their red solo cups. I've got broccoli, kale, cabbage, onions. I also started some peppers, although I think I'll have to start some more because I think I sowed like 9 or 12 seeds of each kind, and I got like 3 of this kind, 2 of that kind, and none of this other kind. So I don't have a great germination rate with my pepper seeds, so I'm gonna have to start some more because I want to get a lot of peppers again this year. Last year I didn't get any. The year before I had a lot of jalapenos and I'm still eating those. Although I think I'm down to my last jar, which is why I'm like, crap, I need to plant more seeds because I need to restock on my jalapenos. But yeah, and my cotton seedlings are doing great. I've tried growing cotton for the last 3 or 4 years, and the seedlings tend to do great, and then when I try to move them outside, that's where they're just die. So far so good. I'm obviously not holding my breath, but I'm hoping that I've identified some things that I wasn't accounting for in the transplanting outside process. So fingers crossed it works out. But yeah, we're at about 10 and a half hours of daylight a day right now, working up to 11. It feels amazing. It's part of why things are perking up outside. Um, yeah. But it's been really busy at work. So I teach for a living, and yep, it's full steam ahead, especially after having 3.5 snow days. So it's just been work, 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 work. And I have not done as much crafting as I would have liked to, but I've certainly done crafting. So let's talk about the things that I've finished and the things that I haven't finished, they're still in progress, and new projects I've started. So, first off my needles is my hand spun hat, which is super cool. So this is hand spun yarn, and I had originally cast this on to knit it top down. I didn't like the sizing of it. I have trouble sizing hats that way. You'd think it'd be easier because you can kind of try it on, but I don't know. I have a hard time. So I had knit those orange hats previously, and they fit great. And those I'd worked bottom up. I'd figured out the stitch count and everything. So, well, bam, just cast on another one. So yeah, I did the same thing here. So I used US size 4. Yeah, US size 4 knitting needle. I cast on 100 stitches around. I did 1 by 1 ribbing. Not as long as I did on the orange hats. So on the orange hats, I did 1 by 1 ribbing for 4 inches so that when I folded it over, the ribbing was 2 inches long. Here I went for 1.5 inches folded over, so I knit 3 inches roughly. I did fold it over, so, and knit the stitches together. So it's this nice double thick brim. And then I didn't just want to do plain stockinette. Even though it's hand spun, it would have looked great. I just wanted a little bit something extra. So what I did is I used the same texture stitch that I used on my corn on the cob socks, which is basically just a fleck stitch. So you do a couple rows of just stockinette, and then you pop in a row of knit 1 purl 1. And the amount of repeats I did, well, so for me, I do a 3-row repeat. So 2 rows of stockinette, 1 with the knit 1 purl 1. But I think if you look at like pattern books or something, it might be a 4-row repeat. So 3 rows of stockinette and then 1 of the knit 1 purl 1, but it's not like it really matters. But it just gives it this little bit of extra texture, and I like that. I also did not knit this as long as the orange hats, so I kind of misjudged the length a little bit, and the orange hats are a little bit too long. What I would call almost an awkward length of it being too long, where it's not quite long enough to be a slouchy hat, but it's not short enough to be like a fitted hat, so it's fine. They're warm and they serve their purpose, but I decided on this one I didn't want it to be slouchy, and so I decreased how far I knit this, and it's perfect. Like, I've got a little bit of extra wiggle room here, but it's not slouchy, and it fits. It covers my ears, which is what I want when I'm wearing a hat. So yeah, I think it's pretty great. So yeah, this used up some yarn out of my hand spun stash. This was yarn that I started spinning last year, towards the end of the year, and I had finished it in January. So this is yarn that came into my stash, and I didn't quite use all of it. I do have some left over, so yeah. Sadly, that's all that I finished, was just that one hat. I mean, it's still good. I did finish something, but I have like my next project here. I'm on the second sock, and I totally could have finished this, but I didn't. It's still a work in progress. So I did get past the heel flap and well, I'm still in the gusset, but I did the heel flap, the heel turn, and then picked up the stitches, right? And I did that during a Zoom meeting, so that worked out nicely. And yeah, I'm still working on this. So the yarn is Knit Picks Fettuccine. The color is Lemon Bar, which I like. Yellow's my favorite color, and I feel like for it being my favorite color, I don't have a lot of yellow things, which is honestly, it's okay because I consider it to be like a pop color. I like yellow. It's bright, it's happy, it makes me feel good. That's why I like it. But yeah, the first sock is finished. It is on a sock blocker hanging up on the pegboard. And the second sock should be very easy to finish now. I'm past the most thoughtful, intensive part, which is the heel. So I'm using US size 1 needles, magic loop style. These are on ChowGoo needles, which are my favorite. Uh, if I have the option to have ChowGoo, then I choose to have ChowGoo. So that's the thing. I have yet to have one give me trouble. So the joins between the needle and the cable, I haven't had any issues. I've used these for almost 10 years now, some of these needles. And the only time I had an issue was completely my fault. I caught a knitting needle in a reclining chair. So when I put the recliner down, the knitting needle actually got bent. So it was completely my fault, and it would have happened no matter the maker of the knitting needle. So, yeah, it's something I would highly recommend. I like them and enjoy them. But yeah, I'm using US size 1 needles, 64 stitches. I'm not doing a pattern, I'm just doing plain stockinette to let the self-striping yarn shine through. A lot of the time I will do a ribbed sock, and I just felt like I wanted a stockinette one. I haven't done one in a while. And yeah, that's what suited my fancy. I also have a crochet project. Ooh, don't let that stitch fall out. Okay. I also have a crochet project on the go. I am crocheting a sweater. It's a bottom up, make it in pieces, sew it together. It is a batwing sweater. Basically, you make the front, you make the back, you sew them together, do a collar, do some ribbing around the sleeves, that kind of thing. I have finished the front piece, which is great, and I think I showed that last time. I have picked up and started the back piece, which is super easy this time because, I knit the whole front piece. The back is pretty much the same thing, but without neck shaping at the top. So yeah, it's just mindless, which is great. Um, but I only got this far. I'm kind of sad about that, but I think I've been just doing this so much that it got boring, especially now that it's kind of mindless. there's mindless to a point where it's great, and then if it gets too mindless and boring, I don't want to do it. So there's a Goldilocks region there that I haven't quite figured out how to stay in that region. Maybe it's just not possible. Maybe I do have to pop out and pop back in, and that's just how it is, and that's fine. But yeah, I'm using DK weight yarn from that I ordered from Hobby. It is in the color Peacock, which I think makes sense as a color name. It's a beautiful teal blue. And what else can I say about this? I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to have the finished object. Obviously, I'm a ways away from that. Here's what's left of the first skein. I do have two of these. Oh, there's some handspun from my hat that I clipped. I do have a second skein, which at first, when I finished the front piece, I thought, wow, I could totally get the back piece out of here as well. I don't know why I ordered two. Now it's looking a little flimsy, so now I'm thankful I ordered two. I don't think I'll use all two skeins to make this, but anyway. Oh yeah, the second one is way over there. I was gonna grab it and show you, but it's a good sky. It's like a good size skein that it came in, but so not a lot of progress here. In fact, I worked on this initially, but for most of this 2-week time, I haven't been working on this. It got too boring and I needed something else. So I actually cast on something new. So before I show you what I cast on, let me just tell you a story. It is now story time. Story time. All right. I went to Joann's because, as we all probably are aware at this point, they have filed for bankruptcy and are closing a bunch of their stores, which does include the one that I usually go to, which is sad. There is still another one open. I think there's one in Seattle that's staying open, and also one in Bellevue that's staying open, and I work in Bellevue, so it's not like I will be without. But you know, it's like, hey, I gotta go and see if, first off, if anything calls to me. Second off, uh, can I get it on sale? And it wasn't an amazing sale. I think it was just like 25% off, but it was their Yarnormous sale, and I bought yarn and it was 25% off. So it's not like it was a liquidation closing, 90% off amazing deal. But it called to me. So, no, I did not cast on with this yarn. So you might be thinking, oh, she bought yarn and cast on something right away. No, I did not. So here's the story. It's in a shopping bag. It's going to stay in this shopping bag for now. But this is the yarn that I bought. So I have 3 skeins of black and 2 skeins of cinnamon. This is Big Twist. And like I said, there are other Joann's in the area, so it's not like I'm going to be without this stuff. Okay. It is, yes, worsted weight acrylic yarn, because I needed more of that. That was sarcasm, by the way. It's 380 yards in 6 ounces. I got the color black and the color cinnamon. And the plan is color work. Okay. So I have been eyeing a sweater. I think the name is Rubinia. I'll try to find a picture and put it in. But I like the pattern, the color work pattern. I don't like the boat neck. I have made a boat neck sweater, and I've never liked how it fit me. I don't like my bra straps showing. I don't like to feel like I'm being choked. Not that it actually, it's just when things are too close to my neck, it is not comfortable for me. So I was like, okay, I really like this. I want this, but I want to modify the neckline so it's more of a crew neck or a V-neck or something with more space here, but will also come up and cover my bra straps. So that's when I went kind of looking around in my patterns going, okay, I don't want to change it into a raglan because the color work in that pattern is not with a raglan style yoke. It's a drop shoulder kind of thing. So I was like, hey, what kind of drop shoulder patterns do we have out there? And I was watching a Woolen Wishes podcast, and they were talking about their favorite knits from last year. And one of the ladies put on her stripe pipe sweater, and it's drop shoulder, and she said the pattern was really easy to follow, super straightforward. She would make more. And I've seen a lot of the stripe pipe sweater in other podcasts as well, and pictures on Instagram and all of that stuff. And went, okay, maybe I just need to buy this pattern. So I did, with the justification to myself, because I felt like I needed to justify this purchase. I don't, but I felt the need to. That I would not only make a stripe sweater following the pattern, but I could use that as a base for this Robinia colorwork sort of thing. So let me get my new cast on, which is the stripe pipe sweater. It's pretty great. So I'm making this out of worsted weight yarn because, like I said, I'm wanting to set myself up for the next sweater, which is going to be out of worsted weight yarn. The pattern is not written for worsted weight yarn. It is written for DK weight yarn. So yes, I've made some modifications. Also in the pattern, it is written to have like 8 to 12 inches of positive ease. I didn't want to have that much positive ease, so I brought it in a little bit, which means the drop shoulder doesn't drop really, right? So the shoulder is pretty much a shoulder instead of a drop shoulder. So I'm gonna have to think about that. But I'm just having fun. So the stripe pipe sweater, the pattern photos have a light main color, and then the stripes are different sort of darker, bolder colors, right? And in my stash, I don't have a lot of light colors because I tend to not wear a lot of light colors, and I have a lot of dark colors. So I am using a navy blue for my main color and using various scraps left over from other projects for the stripes. So I've got light colored stripes, if you will, and the dark color as my main color. I love it so very much. I'm having a lot of fun with the colors. I feel like I can just paint a canvas, and if I want to later I can paint another canvas. Like, I'm not feeling analysis paralysis. I have to make the exact right perfect choice. I'm having fun, which is a change of pace for me, and I'm absolutely loving it. So yeah, I have been mostly working on this. So I cast this on 1 week ago, and I thought, oh my god, do you think I could get this done in 1 week? Obviously that didn't happen. But I have most of a sweater, which is great. I am almost done with this sleeve. So I love that the colors are like you do 3 stripes and then you switch colors. This is so potato chippy. Like it is just as addicting as knitting self-striping socks. And I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of this? This is amazing. I am so motivated to get to the next stripe and then do enough to get to the next color. And I can't put this thing down. It is so, I'm so motivated to work on it. But yeah, the body's not finished. I got to a pausing point where I wanted to do the sleeves because I know that the sleeves are going to tug this down a bit and they're going to open up this neckline a little and could possibly impact the length of the body here. Excuse me. So I went ahead and decided to work on the sleeves one at a time. And yeah, I'm going to be able to, I just did a try on this morning. I am going to be able to fit in the 3rd green stripe here. And then, goodness, excuse me. I'm going to be able to fit in the 3rd green stripe. And then do a ribbing on the cuff. So I was like, if this is a length that needs to be to fit, I'm okay with the green only having 2 stripes. Like it's not the end of the world. It's pretty good. And then I tried it on and went, nope, it's gonna work out just so I can get that 3rd green stripe in there. I'm so excited. Yeah, this is really cool. So the navy blue that I'm using didn't have a label on it. It looked like a full skein or part of a 1-pound skein. It looked more like a Red Heart skein size, not a 1-pound skein size. So I can't tell if it's one of the Karen 1-pound skeins I had, and maybe I used some of it, or if it really is a Red Heart skein that's a full skein. It has no label, so I'm not really sure. Another reason for doing the sleeves at this point is that if it really is a slightly different blue than the other blue I have in my stash, because I've set the 2 skeins next to each other and they look like the same color, but I've had that happen before, and then you start to knit with it and you go, oh my god, they're from different dye lots or something and they're not the same color, and it's totally obvious, right? So I was thinking, okay, I think I'm going to have enough navy blue yarn in this one skein to do this whole project, but if I don't, then what I want is for that new skein to come in like at the bottom and not be like a whole sleeve, right? So that was part of the reasoning here as well for doing the sleeve, is not only for the neckline consideration, seeing what it does to the hemline, but also to get that color. So after I do the green stripe and the cuff, I will come over and do the 2nd sleeve to make sure I get it out of this same skein of blue. If I have enough blue to do the bottom of the body, great, perfect, that was plan A. If I run out, I will dip into another skein over here, but at that point it will only be like the bottom 1 or 2 blue stripes of this thing, and it won't be as noticeable as being a whole sleeve. Because I have a cardigan that I made last year out of black, it's basically black, but the tag says dark gray mix. It was Karen 1-pound yarn. They were actually from 2 different dye lots. So I made the whole body of the sweater and 1 sleeve and then ran out and dipped into the 2nd skein for the other sleeve. And that other sleeve is obviously a different color than the rest, which is why I was thinking of it here, is I'm like, I don't want that to happen again. Every time I wear that thing, I'm self-conscious about the fact that one sleeve is a different color than the rest of the garment. Yeah, so my motivation was, hey, I just bought this yarn with a sweater in mind, but I'm gonna kind of have to modify a pattern, whatever, and instead of doing it with color work right off the bat, I figured I would do this, like actually do the striping and test out the modifications I've made on stitch counts. Why do I want to say countess? Stitch countess. That could be a fun social media handle. It's my Invisalign trays. Sometimes they give me a lisp. It's very annoying. Yeah, so I've modified stitch counts because I'm using a different size yarn than the pattern's written for. I have reduced the amount of positive ease. I've changed needle sizes to accommodate for the different yarn. So yeah, but the essence of the pattern is still here. I would still very much call this a stripe hype sweater. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. So, yeah, that's what I have going on. I didn't do any cross stitch. I didn't do any painting. You know, there are other things I have going on that I like to do. Yeah. That's okay. I'm having a lot of fun with that sweater. I'm kind of glad I got inspired to do a thing and I just did it. It's not done yet. I'm still doing it, but yeah. So, updates on goals. I have some goals for the year of 2025. Some of them have to do with my stash management. So I have kind of two categories going on with stash management. One of them is my commercial yarn. The other one is my hand spun yarn. So for my commercial yarn, I would like to use more out than what I bring in. Obviously, I brought some in. I'm working on using some out. I only count yarn as coming out of my stash when I finish a project. So on my stripe hype sweater, I have finished with some of the colors that I will not pick up again, and I've already logged them in Ravelry on my project page for this. But I'm not counting that in these numbers until I actually finish the whole sweater. It's just easier for me. I'm not accidentally double counting things and that kind of stuff. It also motivates me to actually finish projects, and that's a good thing. And then I count things as coming in if I purchase them or if they're given to me as gifts. Basically, if they come in the house, that counts as coming into the stash. And for handspun, I'm also keeping track of how much I make in yarn and how much of that yarn I use up. Same kind of deal. I only count it as being used up if I actually finish a project. Now, with handspun, I don't have a strict goal to use more than what I bring in because they're both crafts. I have a large fiber stash that I do want to convert into yarn, and I want to be motivated to do so. So I don't want it to seem like a bad thing if I make a bunch of handspun yarn and I don't knit with it. Just making a bunch of handspun yarn would be great. So update on that. Handspun yarn that came into the stash this year was 205 yards. That was this yarn. I did use most of that. I used 161 yards in this hat. When it comes to handspun, these yardages are approximate, but I'm okay with that. So overall, I have gained 44 yards in my handspun stash. In commercial yarn, I have finished a few projects. So the episodes before this one, I have finished a pair of socks and 2 hats out of commercial yarn. So I have used 483 yards out of my stash. But I did purchase yarn. I purchased yarn for 2 of those hats. And I've also now added all of this. So that's quite a bit. In total, so far this year, I have brought in 2,212 yards of yarn. Yeah, so if I take the difference between what I've used and what I've gained, overall, my commercial yarn stash has increased in size by 1,729 yards. Yep. So, another goal I have is I set up a bingo card for myself, so I call it my Fiber Bingo for 2025. It's my first time doing a bingo card for my crafting goals, which is kind of fun. And each square I set up in the bingo card to be something that I want to do as a technique, something I want to do as a particular craft, something I want to do to make a particular object, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I have one of the squares is crochet, so I'm hoping to count my crochet sweater for that. Which means I'll have to pick it up again eventually in order to actually finish it. But what I'm thinking is after I finish this stripy sweater, I'll probably feel like getting back into crochet. Okay. So I'm working on that goal. My stripe pipe sweater is what I consider a scrappy project. I'm using a lot of leftovers from previous projects, so that's going to count towards a scrappy square. I do have cross stitch in progress, and what I'd like to do is finish that by the end of this year. Earlier than that would be amazing, but let's not get carried away with, filling my day with crafts and not being able to do anything else. So I would like to finish a cross stitch project. I am making progress on that, so I am working toward that square. As of right now, I have not been able to mark off a bingo square yet on my card. And initially that makes me feel like, gosh, Alicia, what are you doing? And at the same time, I'm like, it's month 2. You're fine. It's not meant to be stressful. So, yeah. So those are the updates on my crafting goals. All right, I think that's all I have for this episode. I'm tired. I'm tired and I just want to knit. I just want to knit on that sweater, but I need to go out and get a little bit more work done and do some chores around the house and that kind of thing before I sit down and knit. So, yeah, I think I'm liking this every 2 weeks schedule for the regular podcast updates. I know I was doing monthly last year, and that was fun, but it also meant when I sat down to record, there was a lot to try to remember. And I'm finding 2 weeks just a little bit more, it's just easier to remember all the things I've done and that kind of thing. So anyway, so I'm thinking I will see you again in a couple of weeks. And until then, I hope that you stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy your crafts, whatever they may be. Bye.